Thank you, Chairman Adderholt, for holding this hearing today. In recent years, we have seen a drastic increase in radical gender ideology being promoted and pushed by government bureaucrats and educators through school curriculums. Pseudoscientists are attempting to redefine gender to include an individual's feelings rather than focus on their biological sex at birth. And our nation's top executive branch officials cannot clearly define what a woman is. So, Mr. Secretary, I'm sure you remember that in our last hearing last year, I gave you an opportunity to answer that question, and I'll give you a second chance. Can you define what a woman is?
And I'll respond, Congressman Clyde, the way I did last year. I'm here to talk about the budget and how to support the students in your district.
Well, I think it's very important that you determine that you know how to define a woman. As Ms. Frankel mentioned over there, she wanted to be sure that women had their fair share of funding. If you can't define what a woman is, how in the world can you determine that they get their fair share of funding? If you cannot understand and clearly define what a woman is, how can you make rules that protect women's rights? You can't. So I would ask you to please respect this committee and the U.S. Congress by answering my question.
I respect your role. I respect this committee, and I said I'm here to talk about the budget, and if you have a question about the budget, I'd be happy to respond.
I'm asking you a question, and you're refusing to answer.
Be happy to respond to questions about the budget, which is why I'm here.
You're here to answer whatever questions I want to ask of you, and this question directly correlates to the budget.
We are asking for a $22 million increase for the Office for Civil Rights so that we can—
That's not my question. My question is, can you define a woman?
As I said earlier,
All right.
I am not interested
Okay,
in
so you're
getting
not
into
interested in respecting the
This
question
is
of a member of Congress.
content.
All right. Your answer is cagey, evasive, and reveals to me that you have an inability to serve and protect the interests of young women, especially women athletes in this country. Female athletes are having their safety and rights violated by biological males competing in women's sports, and as a result, our nation's women and young girls are suffering the consequences. Yet, despite the grave need for protections to cover female athletes, the Department of Education is moving to eradicate these protections by redefining gender in clear contradiction to biology through its proposed Title IX rulemaking. Mr. Secretary, I hope you realize this proposed rule unilaterally forces schools to allow biological males to participate in women's athletics, thereby threatening to withhold federal assistance from schools across the nation, assistance that is currently used to benefit all students, I might add. So, do you think a woman's safety is in jeopardy by allowing biological males who claim to be women to compete in women's sports?
All students should feel welcome and connected to our schools, and the protection of students is something we take very seriously. We are, as you know, in rulemaking process for Title IX. I can't get into specifics on what our proposal will be. I can tell you that we have had hundreds of thousands of comments that we take very seriously, comments that have different perspectives, which is why it's really important that we listen and we read all those comments before we respond with a rule.
Okay. But you haven't answered my question. Do you think women's safety is in jeopardy by allowing biological males who claim to be women to compete in women's sports?
I believe all students should be safe in school and should be protected, and all students should be welcome in our schools. Again, I see that
Okay,
you
so
want—
you're not going to answer my question.
Could
You know,
I
I'll tell you
finish my
something.
response, sir?
I'm very thankful.
Could I finish my
No,
response?
no, you're not answering my question. You're filibustering. I'm very thankful that the NAIA, the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, has decided to only allow biological female student athletes to participate in female sports. The NAIA understands. They understand the safety issue here. They understand that it protects women's achievements. They understand the hard work of women needs to be honored, and the NAIA understands that they need to prevent the stealing of future honor and accomplishments from women by allowing biological men to take those honors that and hard work that women have worked years and years and years to accomplish, and yet it's not happening. So, do you think that biological males who claim to be women should be allowed to use women's locker rooms?
We're in the Title IX regulations process, and you know, sir, that I cannot speak premature to the rules being put out.
I'm asking your opinion. I'm not
I tell
asking.
you, as an educator and as a father, I want to make sure all students in schools feel welcome, seen, and protected. If that, I can answer that. As a lifelong educator, that's something that I fought for, and that's what I'm fighting for as Secretary of Education.
I yield back.